Hey, we're still working in these chord structures in the Lick of the Week videos. In last week's video, or actually two videos, we broke down what the major chord shape looks like. You know, we have three distinct ways to make major chords in G tuning, and these are the three shapes that are most familiar, you know, to say bluegrass banjo players, but they apply to any style of music because chords are universal to about everything Western style music. But we're dealing primarily with chord shapes that we're familiar with in stroke style banjo, but they apply to, you know, any style if you're tuned in G tuning, that is. So we have the three distinct shapes, and now we've identified that a major chord is the first, third, and fifth notes of a major scale. And we find those three notes in various combinations on the neck, so we wind up with three distinct shapes to find those three triad notes. Now what I want to do is alter the major shape into other useful, I call them chord variants. So what we're going to do is convert each one of the major chord shapes into minors. So let's take the three shapes, the F, which I call the 1, the D shape, which I call the 2, and the bar chord, which I call the 3 shape, and we're going to alter them to make them minor versions. So an easy way to convert a major chord into a minor is to alter the third note in the triad. So you remember, for G major we have to have a G, a B, and a D note to make G major. Okay, the theory rule says to convert this into a minor, or a dark version, you know, in like music school they teach you from the very beginning that a major chord is happy, minor chords are sad. So it's pretty amazing that you can alter the voice of a chord from something really bright to something really dark by altering one note. And that note is the third note. So for review, the first, third, and fifth notes of a scale equal a major chord. The first, the third being flatted 1/2 step, and the fifth note gives you G minor. So on the fingerboard, out of this one shape, let's start with this one, we need to identify the third note. Well, we know it's the B flat note, which would be the altered note. So we need to change the third note, which is B, you know, G, B, and D, first, third, fifth notes. Here's the first, here's the third, here's the fifth notes of the scale. That's the triad. Now I'm going to use my zoom feature on my camera, hopefully. And we're going to zoom in on this hand position. Alright, so here's the F shape, G, B, and D. 1, 3, 5 triad notes. Now I'm going to change, the third string was here, now it's moved back to the third fret. So now I have a G, a B flat, and a D. And the D note is still second string, third fret. So this is an important thing to remember. Even if you can't remember that theory-wise you're moving the B to B flat, if you can memorize what this variated shape looks like, you can convert any major chord on the neck that looks like this shape to a minor. Now we're using G for the example, but I can move this anywhere on the neck. Here's A minor, here's F, F minor, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, B minor, B flat minor. So I can go anywhere on the neck as long as I remember this physical rule. Move the third string back 1 fret, but keep all the other strings the same. Now again, the theory rule that makes this happen is the flatted third. So we're taking this note, the B note for G, and we're moving it back 1/2 step to B flat. So that is an easy way to remember how to convert any F shape into a minor version of itself. Now let me zoom back in. Now let's move to the number 2 shape. Let's stay with G since we're using G for the example. Here's the number 2 formation, or the D formation. Now we need to identify the third interval out of the scale so that we can move it back 1 fret. Okay, if you remember back from our previous video, we discovered that the root note, or the first note of the triad, is under the second string, 8th fret. Okay, here is our B note. There's our third interval, which also means that the first string is also a B. So we have 2 B notes. And this is our 5th interval. So the theory rule that applies to this shape would say that the notes being held out of this shape by the ring and the pinky are the 2 notes that need to get moved back. Okay. I could physically pull these 2 fingers back, and again, let me zoom. Might make it easier to see. I could physically pull these 2 fingers back while keeping these 2 fingers planted. But that works, and if it works for you, that's great. But now this will give us the exact same tally of notes that we had here. G, B flat, and D, just in a different arrangement. This is the way I typically make a number 2 shape minor. I'll modify my fingers around. I'll take the middle and the ring and switch strings, so it looks like this. But if you want to do it this way, it doesn't really matter how you hold it, just as long as it's comfortable for you and you have the right notes. So now we have the exact same notes as we had here: G, B flat, and D. G, B flat, D, but the notes are scrambled slightly. Okay, now let's move on to the bar chord. I'll back to normal vision here. Now, the bar chord, of course, will be the 12th fret. Now, if we need to modify this into a minor version of itself, if we want to convert G major to G minor, what we need to do is find the 3rd interval out of this shape. Now, we know that since this mimics open tuning, we already know that the 5th note is D, so it would be the 4th string at 12 would be D, which is the 5th note of the scale. The 3rd string is G, so it would be the 12th fret. 3rd string would be our root note, the first note of the triad. And the B string, open, would be our 3rd, so it's the same at the 12th fret, just an octave higher. So the 2nd string out of a bar chord position is that 3rd interval. So it needs to get moved back, because remember, we're always looking for the same note to move. To convert a major into a minor, you always need to find that 3rd interval and move it back 1/2 step. So each time we found the same note. So B to B flat out of the 1 shape, B, we had 2 notes here, B to B flat in the 2nd shape, and now the 3rd string out of the bar chord, the 2nd string. So you see, we're always looking for the same note to move, which means we have to alter the fingering. Now for a bar chord, because there's only 1 note moving and all the other notes should stay at 12, well, we're going to have to totally change the shape. So again, let me zoom in. Hopefully it'll stay in the camera shot. I'll alter my position a little bit. So here's the bar chord. Now I'm going to move the 2nd string back from here to here, and I'm going to have to cram all my fingers on the 12th fret. And in essence, it looks like a mirror image of this one. The 2nd string is moved back. So now you have a distinct way to convert all 3 of the major chord shapes you know, the 1 to a minor, the 2 to a minor, and you can do it, any way you want. I'm going to do it this way, instead of this. But if you want to bring your 2 fingers back, you can. So G, G minor, G, G minor, G, G minor. And remember, this works for every major chord using the 3 shapes on the neck. So instead of trying to memorize what minor chords look like, it's a much better system, I think, to memorize what the major shapes look like and then learn how to move 1 note to convert them to the minors you need. So that will finish up this video, and I'll be looking for video number 2 this week. We'll be talking about 7th chords. Thank you very much.